Hello and welcome back to SoulSchool. I'm Theolyn Cortens, and this is the very last in a series of videos I've been making about the 10 laws of creation and how they underpin the way that we can create abundance in our lives. Now, abundance is something that's ever present for us. The natural world is abundant, and we work with that abundance and kind of maneuver with it all the time. We're always creating things, actually. So when we want to create something specific, particular, that will bring us joy and satisfaction because it's in keeping with our soul's purpose, with our divine contract, then we can apply these 10 laws to the process. And that means that we're less likely to get frustrated, we're more likely to complete our project and not abandon it because we have lost heart. And that's good for us, but it's also good for everybody else around us, because every soul that brings joy and satisfaction into the world will allow that to ripple among other people, and other people will say, oh, I could do that as well. So the law of completion is the 10th law, and it's rather like the 7th day of creation in the biblical story. And that is when God says it is good. He stops, he rests, because he's done what he wanted to do. Of course, the biblical God is, always referred to in the masculine, but we won't go into that now. So completion, I'm going to read you a dictionary definition here. Oxford English Dictionary. Having all its parts or elements entire, full, whole, finished, ended, concluded. So that's where we've got to. We've done all the processes through the 9, and we've come back to number 10, which is actually a reflection of number 1, because that was where we started. And we can stand back and say, oh, that's good. Come around and celebrate with me. Have some champagne or whatever you do to celebrate. But you take a rest. And then you start thinking, what's the next thing? So the law of completion is a totally natural place to get to after all the other laws have been worked with. And if you stumble along the way, perhaps at the point of progress, where you feel I'm putting all my effort into something and nothing's happening, and then, and I've done this to myself in the past, I've written a book and I've done the progress bit, I've sent it out under exchange, and I've sent it out to publishers and things, and nothing's going on, nothing's happening, so it goes into a drawer. I know all about these processes from being a dress designer and a writer. But if you get disheartened at a certain point and you don't get to law number 10, then there will always be this nagging feeling in you that could have done better. And if you go backwards over a project that hasn't quite come to fruition and you identify which of the laws you were not making best use of, then that will teach you something about the next project and how you can get more satisfaction from perhaps just going back to the drawing board and starting again. And that does happen. Not every project is going to come out perfect, that's clear. But the more you engage with these laws, the more you can see what these fundamental building blocks are in the patterns that happen in creation. And equally, if people want to hold on to completion and not move forward and go back to the drawing board and do something else, if they just sit back satisfied, then that becomes a kind of stagnant energy. So the law of completion is really lovely and it's perfect. But perfection is something just in the moment, and time moves forward. So in order to be creative, you will have to keep on the change all the time, all the time, all the time. And some people are very gifted with doing that. A very good example is the singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, creating all the time, reinventing what he does, always on the move, because he's not satisfied, or, he's done that and he's been there, and what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So whatever you're doing in your life, you've got to gauge how that fits with your soul's purpose. It could be your soul's purpose just to do one big thing in your life, like it was for Sam Wanamaker with the Globe Theatre. And of course his family were very sad that he didn't actually live to see the theatre performed in. He didn't live in this dimension. I'm pretty sure Sam was floating around on the first night of the first play. But we're working with time, and we have finite amount of time. But one thing I do say about time is that it should be our servant and not our master. And also, one of the things I know about time is that it's to do with perception, and it can be as long as we need it to be. I have a concept I share with people that, like a silkworm is spinning silk out of its own being, we spin the time that we require for our soul's purpose out of our own being. And as long as we keep spinning, we can fulfill the visions and the tasks and the excitement of bringing something divine into the world in a very small way or in a very majestic way. Different people are here to do different things. So anybody who comes on my course, I will be encouraging them to choose a project and to put these laws in place as they move along towards the goal that they've got in mind. And I would very much like to hear from people who take that on. So get in touch with me, Theolyn@theolyn.com. If you miss the classes set up for February 2023, they may run again, or they may be put into a different format so you could follow the material anyway. It will probably be a book. So just keep an eye on what's happening at SoulSchool. Make sure to subscribe to the SoulSchool website, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I expect to cross paths with you before very long. Many blessings.